live button. So let's wait for the stream to fire up all across the fruited plain of the internet before we go ahead and get started. We want to make sure that the YouTubes are working. And major apologies to our Rumble friends yesterday. I had no idea that the Rumble feed wasn't working. I think I forgot to connect the tubes yesterday. And hopefully it's working now today. It looks like we're up over on YouTube. It looks like we're good on locals. Hopefully we're good on Twitter and our Rumble friends. But that means we can go ahead and get started. So let's do it, shall we? Hello, my friends, and welcome back to yet another episode of Watching the Watchers Live. My name is Robert Gouveia. I am a criminal defense attorney broadcasting from the Valley of the Sun, deep in downtown Phoenix, Arizona. And today we are talking about the Grand Juror. One in particular, she kind of stands out from the pack. In fact, she's the only one who has made herself available to the media. She's giving all sorts of interviews, and we're going to learn about her. Her name is Emily Kohrs. And we've got several clips of her today. But remember, this is one case that has been percolating out of Georgia for some time. Georgia was one of these very close states back in the 2020 election. And we're going to go through this because there are indictments apparently coming for Donald Trump. And we've been following this a long time. Long speculated that he was going to be indicted. Sort of felt like a foregone conclusion just because, I mean, he's facing different lawsuits from a bunch of psychopaths all over the country. And so one of them is going to get through at some point, sometime, right? I mean, the election is still quite a ways away. So we're going to go through it because this woman, as you can see here on your screen, is named Emily Kohrs. And she was the foreperson on the grand jury that was investigating Donald Trump and a whole slew of other individuals related to 2020. So we're going to hear from her. We're going to check in on a deep dive from our friend Elle. We've got Anderson Cooper, who's weighing in on this. We're going to learn more about the DA, the district attorney. Her name is Fanny Willis, and we've talked about her several times before here on this channel, but we're going to do a refreshment of our recollection and make sure we understand who she is, because she's going to be the person who's ultimately making a decision. Do we charge Trump? Do we indict the former president? Yes or no? The decision is now on her desk. And we are going to go through the grand jury report. We have a very limited selection from the grand jury. So they've been working on this case for a long time, since 2020. And, well, they have really been writing a lot of stuff, and we're going to get to read some of it today. Not all of it, but just a little bit. We've got a clip from Linsey Graham, who sort of looked like he had a person behind his back with a knife in his back when he was like reading this statement under a gun or something. But I don't know. And so we also are going to check in with Donald Trump. He made a visit over to East Palestine, Ohio. Isn't that nice? What a nice guy. Actually cares about a place here in America. Meanwhile, Pete Buttigieg hasn't been over there. And Joe Biden flew over to Ukraine and Poland and given them $500 million again. So we've got a lot to get to, my friends, as you can see. Now, it is going to be a little bit of a shorter show because if you missed it this morning, we streamed early this morning, early for watching the Watchers time. And it was about the Arizona rancher. His name is George Allen Kelly. We covered that hearing live in real time. There was a preliminary hearing taking place out of Santa Cruz County in Arizona. And so if you missed that, we streamed for about just over an hour and we had the full hearing in there. It was about maybe 20-30-minute hearing, but we covered that. We covered the motions to modify release conditions, and it was actually a pretty juicy and a pretty spicy hearing. So if you missed that, that should be one video over on this channel. So if you want to stick around after this show is over, you can certainly go watch that second long segment. But now, before we get to the show, I want to reference and welcome you over to our amazing community, watchingthewatchers.locals.com. And we have a great community over there chatting away, and we're beta testing a permanent chat, and we're having some fun working through some of those kinks. But it's a great community. We'd love to have you. Watchingthewatchers.locals.com. We also want to give you a great tip, which is to go over to fieldofgreens.com. And there you can save 15% off if you use code Robert, anything you buy in the store over at fieldofgreens.com. Now you can get their real organic superfood, which is Field of Greens. I have mine right here. It's delicious. It tastes great going down. It's got your vegetables, your fruit, all the associated vitamins, all that stuff you really don't want to shove down your mouth. They just made it easily consumable so that you can just insert those vitamins and those nutrients right into your bloodstream. It's just excellent. So don't forget to use fieldofgreens.com. Don't forget to use code Robert when you go over there. I also Want to shout out my former law firm, although I am no longer with the R&R Law Group. They still do amazing work in Arizona. And so they could be available to help anybody that you know who needs help with a criminal charge in the state of Arizona. They're available at 480-787-0394, online at rrlawaz.com. All right, so let's get right into it so we can jump into it. And thank you, Playin' Hooky. Wow, Playin' Hooky says, Rob, school the chat on how to sign up for the Watching the Watchers community. That's from Playin' Hooky. All right, so we'll do that. We'll definitely do that for YouTube and Rumble and everybody else. But we're still working the kinks out of this. So Playin' Hooky thank you very much, Playin' Hooky, for saying something about that. We will. We're working the chat out. I'm not sure if we're going to stick with our current chat platform because a lot of people are having issues with it. However, once it is official and we have sort of the road laid out so everybody can just sign up and come on in, we'll make that announcement. But Playin' Hooky, thank you for that. We're excited about it. I mean, Playin' Hooky's a part of the community here. We're building a community with the calendar, with a case list. We have a permanent chat, so you can always just sort of join the chat. We'll have sort of a library of all sorts of cool stuff. So we're working on that, real hard right now. And we'd love it if you check this out. And so that is over at watchingthewatchers.locals.com. And Playin' Hooky's doing a great job modding the fort down for us and keeping things nice and orderly. And so it'll be soon, Playin' Hooky, like probably next week, right? We're going to get there real soon. We're working the bugs out. Yeah, we're working the bugs out, says Bonnie over on Locals. We tried something a little bit new using a Google Space, but I'm not sure the Google Space is the best solution for us. So we might just go back to something traditional. I don't know, maybe like a Telegram or a Slack channel, something like that. We've already got thrown off Discord, which is why we couldn't go back there. So, it's a growing pains and we're having some fun with it. And, I'm helping a small section of our community raise their blood pressure by 50 points, which is, it's good. It's a stress test just to make sure they're doing okay. All right. So now let's get right into the program on the day, because we have to talk about this woman, Emily Kohrs, Trump's grand juror. Now, there is an entire grand jury, but we're not talking about all of them. We're really focused on one woman today. This woman right here you see on your screen, her name is Emily Kohrs, and she was the foreman or the foreperson or the forewoman, whatever pronoun she decides to use. We'll have to figure that out. But it was the person who was kind of organizing and running the show when a bunch of people were sitting around deciding whether or not to indict Donald Trump and a bunch of people associated with him for conduct related back to the 2020 election. And so, as you know, a grand jury proceeding, this is a proceeding that takes place in secret. Defendants are not there. Defense attorneys are not there. It's the prosecutor. It's grand jurors. They have certain powers that they can call witnesses in, and they go through a big, long process. And so this was taking place over the last several months, several years, ever since the 2020 election. The woman who's in charge of this is Fanny Willis, the district attorney from Fulton County out in Georgia. We're going to learn more about her. We're also going to take a look at the full grand jury report. Actually, it's not the full thing. It's the full version that we can see. The full report is still redacted, and it's sitting on Fanny's desk out there in Fulton County. But the judge did release certain excerpts of it, and so we can see sort of what the grand jury came out with in terms of their conclusions. We've got clips from Linsey Graham and Anderson Cooper and others. But first, I want to show you sort of, just to get our bearings straight, what are we talking about? Who is this woman? Where'd she come from? What's all this about? Well, her name is Emily Kohrs, all right? And we have our friend Elle, who is on Twitter, and I followed her for a long time, and this is her current account, and hopefully she has this one for a while. But she does some great work and did some deep digging on who this person is, and once we play a couple of these clips, you'll sort of understand what I'm talking about. But the question is about whether there was, whether this was sort of a non-conflicted foreperson of a jury, or whether there's a credibility behind this entire inquisition. In other words, can we take what this grand jury produced and look at it like serious people? Can we take a look at this document, right, and say, we're serious Americans here. We're looking at this through an unfiltered lens, unbiased, without zero conflict of interest, right? And we want to make sure that our fellow citizens did a good job. After listening to this and going through some of this evidence here today, we can ask ourselves, or you can ask yourself, whether you think that whatever this grand jury produces is substantive. Well, I'll leave that up to you. So here is Emily Kohrs. She's on CNN. And of course, right, this is a civilian person. This is not somebody who is accustomed to speaking in public or to appearing on MSNBC. And, it's not, I don't like to dunk on people who are sort of not familiar with this or who might be a little bit strange or a little bit unusual. But she's also making herself available, right? She's sort of putting herself out in front of the cameras to come out and make her point and sort of bask in the limelight of whatever this attention will be for however long it exists. With that being said, let's listen to this four-person of Trump's grand jury investigation.
Did you personally want to hear from the former president?
I wanted to hear from the former president, but honestly, I kind of wanted to subpoena the former president because I got to swear everybody in. And so I thought it'd be really cool to get 60 seconds with President Trump of me looking at him and being like, do you solemnly swear? And me getting to swear him in. I kind of just thought that would be an awesome moment. I can see how trying to get the former president to come talk to us would have been a year in negotiation by itself.
So it sounds like that was ultimately a battle that you all decided not to wage.
Exactly. That's kind of how it ended up, was that, and I'd be fascinated by what he said, but do you think he would have come in and said anything groundbreaking or just the same kind of thing we've heard? So at some point you don't need to hear 50 people say the same thing. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? At some point you kind of start to get the gist.
Sure.
Okay, so a little bit of a strange delivery, right? Kind of bubbly, and the demeanor is sort of bouncing around and kind of seems almost a little bit giddy, almost cherishing the process. And this happens, right? We've seen this before in other trials we've covered. There are people that want to be on jury panels, right? Because they are fascinated with the legal system. I mean, look on Netflix, look on any one of these streaming services. One of the most popular genres out there is true crime and litigation shows. And you might be watching this show here because you're also interested in the law, as I am, right? We're talking about it here, for crying out loud. And so people get involved in it and they get a little excited. They want to do a great job and they want to take notes and they want to do their civic duty. And I love that. I want people to participate and do a great job in the country and, serve their country. And when they're called to act, to take it seriously and do a good job. And so I don't, like I said, I don't want to beat up too badly on her mannerisms. Feels very strange. I don't know what's going on there. So, I'm not a doctor or whatever that is. However, you can even listen to the substance of what she's saying and you can say, all right, there's some weird stuff going on here. Because if you just take out the words, if you take out the mannerisms, the bouncing around and all the strangeness, the transcript is also sort of concerning because she is specifically talking about really not caring what Donald Trump had to say about any of it, right? I mean, she's being flippant about the process and she sort of is equating Donald Trump. We're going to play this again, but she's equating Donald Trump, if you listen to it, to every other person who came out to testify, right? So she says, if you listen to 50 people, you don't really need to hear it again. We kind of got the gist of it. And so what good is Donald Trump going to do if we haul Donald Trump back in here and get him in front of the camera to answer questions? We've already heard it from 50 other people. Okay, well, it doesn't really matter. There's only one president in this entire story. So that's kind of an important deal, right? You kind of want to bring that person in. So when I hear that, when I hear the conclusion from Emily here, Miss Kohrs, is that it was a conclusion. They've already came out with a conclusion. They've already decided essentially that they don't need to hear anything. So we're still at a grand jury proceeding part of this process, which means we're really talking about probable cause, not guilt beyond a reasonable doubt, and there's not much, in other words, that she has to prove at this stage. It's still pretty base layer and you can get away with a bunch of stuff, right? I mean, people get charged with crimes, they get prosecuted past the grand jury phase, and they still get good plea deals that are better than the original charges, or they get acquitted, right? They get not guilty verdicts, or they take, file motions and get charges dismissed. So just because somebody is indicted doesn't mean that they're guilty. It just means that there's enough there for probable cause. But here, right, she seems very conclusory. When I hear that, it leaves me concerned because I wonder then what type of investigation did she start with? Right? Did she start as a blank slate? Somebody who is so excited and giddy and somebody who is just chomping at the bit to shove themselves in front of the cameras everywhere they can. It sort of leads me to believe that they had a motive. They had a bias. They were entering into this space with a predetermined conclusion that they wanted to see happen. And we've seen this before. We talked about this with Derek Chauvin and that juror, Brandon Mitchell, and he was, I think, giving podcasts, and he was sort of fibbing around the margins on his grand jury questionnaire so he could get on the panel, even though he was wearing a "Don't Tread on Our Neck" shirt or something like that, at a podcast event that he was there at. He never disclosed that to the jury questionnaire. All right. So people want to be involved and they want to get on these jury panels and so on and so forth. But they do that with the understanding that they're going to be fair and neutral and unbiased and an arbiter that is not going to be coming in there with a foregone conclusion that they are trying to achieve. And when I hear, somebody like this sort of bouncing around, giggly, excited, having fun with this, I really wanted to just get him face to face and have 60 seconds with him. It's like, yeah, that's true. Okay, like, yeah, I'd like to, have a short conversation with a lot of people, and it would be a cool experience. But this is not what that is, okay? You're not taking a tour of the White House or rummaging around in Mar-a-Lago like the FBI agents and getting a photo op, right? This is a serious process. And is she just subpoenaing people now, right? Her credibility is kind of like, okay, are you just subpoenaing people because you want to take pictures with them and have brief moments in the limelight with these very high personality people? And are you conflicted? Is somebody putting pressure on you, young woman, who is trying to deliver an outcome for overzealous prosecutors who have sort of created this panel to serve their ends? Right? All sorts of questions about this. This is really problematic for the prosecution. I can't even imagine what they're doing. They must be pulling their hair out right now because, as we're going to hear, they are, these grand jurors are prohibited from talking a lot about this, and she knows that, right? And she says the judge said, don't talk about this, and this, and this, and this, and this. And she's like just tiptoeing around a minefield just to have the conversation. That's how much she wants to be involved in this. And if somebody is that involved, are they really neutral? Are they really that fair and unbiased? Or is the person who really wants to be involved probably the worst person to have involved? Right? You kind of want somebody who's like, all right, I feel like I got a bunch of other crap to do in my life, but I'll come here and be a part of this and I'll give it my full attention, but that's it. Then I'm done. I'm getting out of here. Not somebody who wants to just bask in it for quite a while. Here it is one more time.
Did you personally want to hear from the former president?
I wanted to hear from the former president, but honestly, I kind of wanted to subpoena the former president because I got to swear everybody in. And so I thought it'd be really cool to get 60 seconds with President Trump of me looking at him and being like, do you solemnly swear? And me getting to swear him in. I kind of just thought that would be an awesome moment.
Yeah, it would,
I can see how
I guess, for you.
Trying to get the former president to come talk to us would have been a year in negotiation by itself.
So it sounds like that was ultimately a battle that you all decided not to wage.
Exactly. That's kind of how it ended up.
Why? Because it was going to take too much time and it was going to be too difficult, and you had enough of what you needed with the other people who were other 50 people. So the president's testimony is inconsequential. Well, is that because your mind's already made up?
That, and I'd be fascinated by what he said, but
what?
Do you think he would have come in and said anything groundbreaking, or just?
Well, he would have exercised his rights. He's under investigation, so he probably would have invoked his Fifth Amendment rights, and he could have done all of that. But you could have then said, we also subpoenaed him and investigated this, and you could have returned, right, with a report that said, we tried, we did this, we offered this, opportunity for Trump to come in and voluntarily testify. He didn't do it. He rejected it, and that informed our report. Okay, but you don't just have the opportunity to say, not that important. It's only the key person who's under investigation here, and they don't want to talk to him.
It's the same kind of thing we've heard. So at some point, you don't need to hear 50 people say the same thing.
No, because you already decided.
You know what I mean? At some point, you kind of start to get the gist.
Yeah, but it's not the gist of it, okay? It's Trump, and there's some other people in there. And it's not even really about Trump. We're also concerned about the other people who maybe they didn't need to hear from, right? Who else didn't ask for because they just got the gist of it, right? She got enough of what she needed. There's nothing else really for them worth digging into. And so let's take a quick look at this article that from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, which hang on one second. I have to adjust. All right, we're going to read this article from CNBC. They tell us that now, so this woman is speaking on behalf of the grand jury. This is the background on the grand jury probe. So Georgia, the judge released portions of the grand jury report. This is on the investigation into the election probe. Couple points here. One, portions of the final report is now available. We're going to read through that later. The introduction and the conclusion details some juror concerns that witnesses may have lied under oath during their testimony. This is set to be released. The full report is going to include recommendations as to whether anyone should face criminal charges related to Georgia and the 2020 election. So we have all of this is going to be coming out. A full report is going to have recommendations. All of this will land on the desk of District County Attorney from Fulton County, Fanny Willis. She's got to provide periodic updates. The special grand jury was last seated last May to investigate efforts into the election. Linsey Graham appeared at that grand jury proceeding. We have a clip from him. Of course, as we know, we were covering the 2020 elections here at length, got strikes for it. And here, Georgia was one of the several states that we covered. We covered many of these lawsuits, including Brad Raffensperger, of course. He was the secretary in charge of a lot of the inquiries. We know that Lindsey Graham called him and so on. So we've covered the story for quite a long time. I'm sure many of you are familiar with it. But I want to play now just another clip of Miss Kohrs because it's very strange. Now, she also showed up on CNN and she was having a conversation with this woman. The foreperson for the Trump jury, Emily Kohrs, interesting interview.
Emily, thank you for coming on. I do want to say off the top, as you and I just discussed, but for everyone to know, you are somewhat limited in what you can discuss under the judge's orders as of now. But one, we do know, of course, one of the biggest questions remaining for everyone that wasn't in that jury room with you is how many people are in trouble here? What can you tell us about how many people you recommended as a group to face indictments?
Well, thank you for having me, first of all. And I'm hesitant to speak to something that the judge made a decision not to share. I don't know if everyone's aware of this, but there was a hearing about what parts of the report should and should not be published in its various forms, and the sections that were removed were consciously chosen to be removed, and I don't want to say I have better judgment than the judge.
Good call on that one.
That's totally understandable.
Yeah, good call. So she's talking about the grand jury report, and look at that face. Very interesting face there. And so she is well aware that she's on thin ice, that she should not really be talking about too much of this stuff. She says there was a hearing that took place, and huge portions of the report have been redacted consciously by the judge, and she doesn't want to overrule the judge, and she's still on CNN. It's getting pretty dicey here.
Would you say when it comes to there are indictments recommended, of course. Is it more than?
Yes. Did you hear that? So that's the yes. There are indictments recommended, of course, right? Yes, there are. Now, we don't know who they are for. Are they for Donald Trump? We don't know.
That's totally understandable. Would you say when it comes to there are indictments recommended, of course. Is it more than 12 people? Is it more than 20 people?
I think if you look at the page numbers of the report, there's about 6 pages in the middle that got cut out. Allow for spacing. It's not a short list.
Not a short list. More, I mean, when it comes to 75 witnesses, like, it's not, I assume, of course, it's not 75 people. Would you characterize it as 20-ish people?
I can't say I counted.
Okay. More than a dozen, though, I think I'd heard you say in another interview.
I believe so. That's probably a good assumption.
Okay, so very interesting conversations there. Not a lot of details. Rough numbers on what the potential estimates are on the indictments that are coming. Surely will be a lot of them. So a great investigator on the internet, somebody who does some excellent research, is called Elle. And here's something she dug up. And you can follow her over at Some BI Know. And she has been put through the ringer on Twitter, and we're grateful that she is here in a more permanent fashion. I have followed this woman here more times than anybody else, I think, on social media, because her Twitter accounts got deleted time and time again, and she just created new ones. And then it was like this cat and mouse game. And so we're very happy that Elle is here back more permanently in Twitter 2.0. And so she did some deep dives onto, and chat's saying the same thing. Elle does excellent work. So shout out to Elle. Yeah, chat agrees. And so she's been doing some digging on this and found that there was not that much social media stuff out there for Emily Kohrs. And of course, everybody's digging into it. What are her politics? What does she draw? What does she speak about, and so on and so forth? What are her politics, essentially, trying to dig into this? And so she went over there and found one of her Instagram accounts. And of course, she's a public figure now. She's doing public media. And so all this stuff gets dug into. And some interesting things here. Okay, you're looking at Wicca, witchcraft, and paganism. Witches must have plants, herbs you can grow in water all year, which sounds good, actually. I'm interested in gardening right now. But maybe not these types of herbs. I don't know what kind of herbs she's growing for, but it's weird, like a Sears thing, it's all on Pinterest. Okay, people are into interesting hobbies. I don't know, but she's a witch. Okay. I guess maybe she's a witch. I don't know. Anyways, so that's from our friend Elle. And so make sure you give her a follow at Some BI Know on Twitter. She does great work over there, and she's a good friend of the show. So we have some interesting work there. And, I don't know what that means or what conclusions to draw, but certainly interesting. All right. So now she is going around and having these interviews all over CNN, and Anderson Cooper and others are wondering what the heck is going on. How is this happening right now? Because remember, many people in the Democratic media, CNN and elsewhere, they're very excited about this, boy. I mean, they have been sort of banging the table for years now. Trump's going to get impeached. Trump's going to get impeached again. Trump's going to get impeached a third time. And he's not even in office anymore. Oh, who cares? Impeach him. He's going to get indicted for Russia. He's going to get indicted for this, and so on and so forth. It's like this never-ending saga. You almost feel bad for these people, and you realize who they are and what they want to accomplish, and you reconsider all of that. But they really want this to happen. It's like, every day, taking Christmas away from a kid every Christmas. No, it's coming. It's not coming this week. It's next week. And they're just waiting for it. And they are so close. I mean, this Georgia Fulton Grand Jury is just, it's right there, or it's ready to happen. And then this woman, I don't know, maybe this Wiccan, spellcaster is out there casting spells on America, explaining what this is all about. Here's Anderson Cooper wondering, what the heck is she doing?
Why this person is talking on TV, I do not understand, because she's clearly enjoying herself.
Yeah, totally.
But I mean, is this responsible? She was the foreperson of this grand jury.
No, it's
this
not.
This is a horrible idea. I guarantee you that prosecutors are wincing watching her go on this.
I was wincing just watching her eagerness to hint at stuff.
It's painful in that respect. This is a very serious prospect here. We're talking about indicting any person. You're talking about potentially taking away that person's liberty. We're talking about potentially a former president for the first time in this nation's history. She does not seem to be taking that very seriously.
There's no reason for her to be out talking.
No,
Right,
it's a prosecutor's nightmare. She
wants the attention. She's excited about the work she's done. She wants to be a part of the process. We're going to go get him, man. We're going to go get him. And she can't get enough of it. And so CNN, Anderson Cooper's own network, put her on.
Mark my words. Donald Trump's team is going to make a motion if there's an indictment to dismiss that indictment based on grand jury impropriety. She's not supposed to be talking about anything, really, but she's really not supposed to be talking about the deliberations. She's talking about what specific witnesses they saw, what the grand jury thought of them. She says some of them we found credible, some of them we found funny. I don't know why that's relevant, but she's been saying we found this guy funny or interesting. I think she's potentially crossing a line here. It's going to be a real problem for prosecutors.
Yeah, it's going to be a disaster. And of course, it begs the question, right? If that's the foreperson of the jury, you understand that? It's crazy. She's in charge. She's running things. No. You take that document. You go make the copies over here. You sit back down. Okay, lunch is here. Bathroom break. You're back in 5 minutes. Make sure you bring your brooms back here, and we're going to do some laps around the building. So it's a strange conversation that's going on in there. And you ask yourself, well, yes, these are grand jury proceedings, and it's all taking place in the dark of night, or wherever wherever her boiling cauldron is. But the point is, it doesn't sound like something that's credible. Okay, so as I said at the very start of this show, if somebody comes out with a big stack of papers and they say, all right, this is it, boys and girls, we got a grand jury report here. Donald Trump is guilty. You say, wow, it must be a really good report. Who wrote this? Her name's Emily. Emily who? What did she do? What does she do? What does she talk about? And it turns out to be this woman. And then you go, I'm going to take a really thorough deep dive into the rest of what happened in these grand jury proceedings. And of course, they will have grand jury transcripts available. So although maybe we can't see what's going on in there, my presumption is that a lot of those grand jury transcripts are already in possession of Trump's lawyers, meaning they can see what happened. They can read what took place there and maybe even see what was going on, in some of those proceedings based on permission from the court. They can file, there's certain motions you can file to sort of insert yourself in grand jury proceedings. They call them different things in different states. But the point is, they're not just sitting there on their hands. This gives them a whole can of worms that they can dig into. And if she is just sort of haphazardly shooting from the hip, commenting about the certain types of witnesses that they thought were credible and not credible, and they had enough when they heard enough, they called 50 people, but that was enough. They didn't need to hear anything more about this other stuff. I mean, it's like a defense attorney's dream. And it's amazing that she is just continuing to talk about this so openly. And there will be, I'm sure, more to come of it. And so we have to ask ourselves now, she led this grand jury. They drafted a grand jury report. The grand jury report is now going to be landing on the desk of Fanny Willis, who's the Fulton County DA. And so we have to learn ourselves a little bit more about Fanny Willis, because she may be one of the most well-known prosecutors in the entire country if she does, in fact, indict Trump. So this is from the website over on fultoncountyga.gov. You can see Fanny Willis is here. A little bit more about her before we watch this video. Says that Fanny T. Willis is the district attorney for Fulton County, the largest county in Georgia, 1 million Georgians, home to most of the city of Atlanta, well as some of the southern suburbs. Took office Jan 1, 2021, after ousting a longtime incumbent, wanting to restore integrity back to the office. So she's a career trial lawyer, deep and broad prosecutorial experience, over 100 jury trials, which is kind of like, it's a big number, but it's not, if you're a prosecutor and you're a career trial lawyer, okay. 19 years of experience as a prosecutor, lifer prosecutor, gross. Pre-indictment diversion programs, and so on and so forth. All right, so you know what she's all about. Lifelong government prosecutor. All they do is prosecute. Here's what she sounds like.
Welcome to our website. As we start our second year in office, I want to update you on our progress and let you know about our ongoing efforts to make every part of Fulton County as safe as it can be. When we took office, we found a backlog of cases unprecedented in Fulton County's history. Because of the cases that were stalled by the pandemic of our courts and the prior mismanagement of this office by the former administration. We found 22,000 pending cases, half of which hadn't even yet been indicted. We also found in excess of 50,000 closed cases that were not properly entered into the public record. I have brought in new, highly experienced staff to serve our community.
Nice
and we
photo.
have been working around the clock to clear the backlog and make sure we get dangerous defendants indicted and keep them out.
I love those scenes. Don't you just love those scenes? I love them because I've done them, right? I mean, when I used to be a lawyer, I'm now unemployed. I used to be at the founding partner at the R&R Law Group. Now I'm an unemployed lawyer. But we used to do that, right? We used to say, all right, everybody, get your stuff, get your suits on, get your briefcases, and just walk around the corner and act like you're doing stuff, right? Look very professional. Here they come. All right, so roll the camera. Okay, everybody, look serious. And hey, don't look at the camera when you walk by. Don't look at it. Otherwise, we're going to have to do it again. And John, if you do it again, if you look at this camera one more time and we have to go back and start this all over again, boy, you're fired. I'm going to put you in jail with the defendants that we're prosecuting this afternoon.
I have brought in new, highly experienced staff to serve our community, and we have been working around the clock to clear the backlog and make sure we get
John, don't look at the camera.
Defendants indicted.
All right, John didn't look at the camera.
Off our streets. We are pushing cases through to trial or pleas to get justice for victims, and we have made real progress.
All right, good job. All right, so they're doing a great job out there in Fulton County. Those are the prosecutors. We just love prosecutors. Just amazing. You know, great work over there, guys. All right, so that's what's taking place out of Fulton County. That's Fanny Willis. And we have another clip of Fanny Willis. She went on the Rachel Maddow show. And she had a little bit of a rough time here. Even Rachel Maddow, I think, was sort of shocked. I think it was her first experience there. And Rachel says, the floor is yours. Would you like to talk? And she says, not really. I'm just here to, I guess, just sit here. It's a very interesting exchange. And we're going to watch it right after we energize ourselves with Field of Greens, because we need to get those vitamins and energy. And because we'd all like to lose, you know, those leftover pandemic pounds, a little heavy. We all can get there. And of course, we've all seen those weight loss ads, fad diets and pills and so on. We've all been there. We've all done that. And we know that they don't work. But you know what does? Vegetables, fruits, eating 5 healthy servings of them every day. You do that and the weight probably falls right off. But of course, you know, vegetables and fruits, who's got time to prepare that every day? You don't have to. Let's talk about Field of Greens. It is a science-backed formula, very specific fruits and vegetables that you won't find in any other product. We have proper nutrition, and it reboots your metabolism so that you can burn calories the faster way and lose weight a healthier way. And Field of Greens is the only product backed by a better health promise. You're going to look healthier, you're going to feel healthier, but the best proof is going to come at your next checkup when your doctor says, my goodness, whatever you've been doing, you look great, you've lost weight, keep it up. So let's get you started. Go over to fieldofgreens.com, open up a new tab in your browser, type fieldofgreens.com right in there. And you're going to see a whole wide array of various products that are going to improve your health. Enter code Robert at checkout. You can save 15%. Field of Greens is amazing. It's organic superfood, tastes good going down. It'll make you feel great and vibrant. And check them out. All right, so now we turn our attention back over to Fanny Willis, one of the more painful interviews that I think a person has at least opened with on a talk show. The Georgia prosecutor, Fanny Willis, jumps on with Rachel Maddow and explains what she's doing to indict Trump.
Fulton County, Georgia District Attorney Fanny Willis joins us once again
Fanny.
For the interview. This is
Fanny is what she said. It's Fanny. I'm pretty sure of it. I know how to pronounce words, and it's definitely Fanny.
Fulton County, Georgia District Attorney Fanny Willis joins us once again
sorry,
for the
Rachel.
interview. This is her first national TV interview since opening this investigation. DA Willis, thanks again for sticking with us. I wanted to ask you about the impeachment element here. This phone call between then President Trump and the Secretary of State in Georgia is mentioned in the article of impeachment on which President Trump is being tried right now. Did the impeachment and that process have any bearing at all on your decision to open this investigation?
Here you go.
Or how you look at your
Floor's yours. Hit it.
Here?
Zero.
Come on.
None whatsoever.
Just a completely independent process.
You're live.
Okay.
You're live. Go.
We have,
it's a. I mean, if we watch, so I just want to be clear, if we watch that trial and witnesses come forward that are relevant to my investigation, certainly we will do our due diligence and interview them. But whether there was an impeachment or not an impeachment would not change the fact that something occurred here within my jurisdiction that may be criminal. And if that is the case, it needed to be investigated.
I will mention impeachment in one other context here.
Yeah, worst interview ever, I think, of all time, which makes me feel better about all the interviews that I've ever botched.
County, Georgia District Attorney Fanny Willis joins us once again for the interview. This is her first national TV interview since opening this investigation.
First interview, yeah.
DA Willis, thanks again for sticking with us. I wanted to ask you about the impeachment element here. This phone call between then President Trump and the Secretary of State in Georgia is mentioned in the article of impeachment on which President Trump is being tried right now.
He got acquitted. He wasn't impeached, Rachel. Didn't work out on that one either.
Impeachment and that process have any bearing at all on your decision to open this investigation or how you look at your responsibilities here?
0.
Okay, good interview. All right, thanks for joining us here today, everybody. That's Fanny Willis on the Rachel Maddow Show. All right, so, okay, well, that's what's going on over there. So let's take a look now at the grand jury report, which is what they ultimately released to us, what they concocted and decided we can all read. And do I have this open? It's going to be opened and red penned in very short order. Right now, in matter of fact. And let's add some girth to this pen so we can really get into it. All right, so this is filed out of the Superior Court, Fulton County, Georgia. This is from the grand jury proceedings, the final report that is likely to culminate in indictments, some people speculating, one of which may be for Donald Trump. Filed in the office, Deputy Clerk, Superior Court in Fulton County, Georgia, February 16, 2023. It's about a special purpose grand jury, which was convened. We've already talked about all of the interesting clips from Emily Kohrs, who was the foreperson of the jury. Here's what this report says. Signed by the judge, Superior Court of Fulton County, Atlanta Judicial Circuit, says on February 13th, the undersigned entered in ports of this into the record concerning its investigation. Certain portions are admissible. 3 portions are attached A through C, and the clerk is directed to make this available to the public. Judge says, let everybody see this stuff. So this isn't much. In fact, this is only about 9 pages. But they write, Exhibit A is as follows. The special purpose grand jury report. The jury was impaneled pursuant to an order. Grand jury consisted of 26 Fulton County residents, 3 of whom were alternates. On any day testimony was received or deliberations were had, jurors present ranged between 16 and 24 total allowed. They created a quorum. They were impaneled to investigate very specific facts. To wit, the facts and circumstances related directly or indirectly to attempts to disrupt the lawful administration of the presidential elections in Georgia. They say, this grand jury was selected on May 2nd, 2022, and first heard evidence on June 1. We continued to hear evidence and receive information all the way into December 2022. Grand jury received evidence from 75 witnesses, overwhelming majority done in person under oath. Grand jury also received information, digital media, physical media. Georgia law, we have been following the rules in Georgia. The following report is from our work. We voted on it, yay, nay, and so on. The grand jury decides the following. Here, the grand jury heard extensive testimony on the subject of alleged election fraud. They heard from poll workers, they say, investigators, technical experts, state of Georgia employees and officials, as well as from the person still claiming that fraud took place. We find by a unanimous vote, says the grand jury, that no widespread fraud took place in Georgia in the 2020 presidential election that could result in the overturning of that election. That's the grand jury. Big page was redacted, or several pages were redacted, so everything subsequent to that paragraph is gone. Exhibit B. Now, it looks like what he's doing is he's just... That's interesting. So there is like not much here at all. Wow. Okay, so they're just clipping very, very small snippets from the final report. This is the whole thing. It's 9 pages, but 2 or 3 of the pages are full, blank pages. So we fast forward down to paragraph 8. That's a page 8. So we go from that's a page 2. Look at that. So page 2, we're missing 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We go down to 8. Then we get a conclusion. And then we get an addendum. All right. So just so we understand what context we have. Sorry for all the scrolling around. But this is where we fast forward now. We're on the final page, basically. A majority of the grand jury believes that perjury may have been committed by one or more witnesses testifying before it. So that's going to go over to Fanny Willis And then she'll have to make a decision about what to do about that. The grand jury recommends that the district attorney seek appropriate indictments for such crimes where the evidence is compelling. So their conclusion, they say the following: the grand jury wishes to acknowledge the hard work of everybody here. Any legal errors are not their fault, they're ours. Maybe the witch lady. If this report fails to include potential violations, we acknowledge the discretion of the district attorney to file more charges if we don't find them all. They say this grand jury contained no election law experts or criminal lawyers. The majority of the grand jury used their best efforts to attend every session, listen to every witness, and attempt to understand the facts as presented by the law. So I would like to see the attendance list and see how many times Emily Khors was there. I would guess probably every single time, right? She's a foreperson. She's not missing anything. If the court finds this report to have satisfied the purposes, we request to be discharged. Signed, the foreperson, which now we know is Emily Khors. The deputy foreperson, we don't know. So the individual that we listened to several times today, who was in charge of this whole thing, okay, she is this person. This is her. Addendum to the special purpose. The undersigned grand jury want to clarify two matters. They say before its dissolution, the grand jury voted to recommend that the grand jury report be published. They want all of this to come out. And so the grand jury did not recommend a manner or time for the publication. So the judge presumably is saying, well, we'll see. I'm releasing some of it. There will be more. At no time were 24 or more jurors present when evidence was received. 24 jurors, including alternates, were present only at an introductory meeting at the Fulton County Courthouse in May. So, not much there. Actually, a little bit surprised that this is all they released. So the only thing you can really deduce from here is that they are recommending indictments. Whether this comes about to Trump or not is, certainly yet to be seen. The fact that this woman, Emily Khors, is so giddy about this and sort of doing cartwheels on the media leads me to believe that maybe he is on that list. Fanny Willis, we'll have to see what she decides to do. If she does indict him, of course, she'll probably be the most famous prosecutor in the country overnight. And she'll have a lot of media scrutiny coming down to bear upon her. We'll see what she decides to do. All right, so that is the grand jury report. And we know, right, that there's not much evidence in there. We do know that there were a bunch of people who were called in to testify. One of those individuals was Lindsey Graham. And I was listening to this clip. They brought him on to ABC and they said, hey, Lindsey, you're kind of caught up in this whole grand jury thing out of Georgia. And what do you have to say about this? I mean, are you going to be indicted, bro? Like, are you on this list? Are you worried about perjury? The grand jury report just talked about perjury. We know that Linsey Graham called in there. Are they calling him a liar? He was one of the witnesses because he made a phone call to Brad Raffensperger, the Secretary of State for Georgia, the guy who was sort of running elections back then.
Graham, I want to, if we could quickly here, talk about the Georgia grand jury. The grand jury in Georgia investigating allegations that former President Trump tried to overturn the 2020 election. The grand jury released this statement. We find by a unanimous vote that no widespread fraud took place in the Georgia 2020 presidential election that could result in overturning that election. You appeared before that grand jury in November and were asked about a call that Georgia's Secretary of State said you made to him after the 2020 election. First, do you accept the grand jury conclusion? And do you have any regrets about calling the Secretary of State? And any concerns about perjury?
No concerns about my testimony. The grand jury analysis that there was no widespread fraud in Georgia, I agree with that. I think the voting by mail had problems, but I found no evidence of widespread fraud. And I had to decide as a senator whether or not to validate the Georgia election. I thought it made sense to call up the Georgia Secretary of State, and I did, asked hard questions. But at the end of the day, I voted to certify the election results in Georgia for the 2020 election.
Thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Who was he weird clip, right?
Senator Graham, safe trip back.
Weird clip. I think somebody off screen is giving him the old, does he have a gun pointed at his head? Who is this person he's looking to right there? Who is this person right there? Is that his YouTube censor? Is that his Senate censor he's giving the old side eye to? I've got my YouTube censor over there. He's a real pain in the butt. He's always giving me a bunch of grief about this topic. In fact, he's getting a little squirrely in his chair over there too. So, we always got to deal with our, our censors here. But who's he looking at? And what's this pin doing on his chest? Anyways, very interesting clip. So he is now falling in line. He's not, upset, challenging anything. Everything's perfectly by the book. And I'm totally legal. I think the elections were great. Perfect. They were great. Don't indict me, please. I didn't lie to anybody. What phone call? I don't even know how to use a cell phone. Brad who? Raffensperger. Raffens what? No, I have no idea what you're even talking about. All right. So that is Linsey Graham. Now, the grand jury report, is going to have a bunch of names in there. We're going to see what Fanny Willis does about it. If Trump's name ends up there, well, then we'll have to see how that unfolds. But let's check in with Trump in the meantime. So Trump, very conveniently, was over doing something useful today, and other people in our federal government were not. Joe Biden was traveling back from Poland. Pete Buttigieg, our Secretary of Transportation, was definitely not in East Palestine. Kamala Harris, who knows where she's at. And everybody is sort of doing other things other than focusing on one of the biggest catastrophes domestically in the United States that's ongoing. We're talking about East Palestine, Ohio. So Donald Trump swung by and actually went to a McDonald's, picked up a bunch of hamburgers, and brought them to a bunch of the first responders out there. And it was actually a pretty interesting exchange. I wanted to share some of that with you before we wrap it up and jump into your questions and your super chats. This was the scene outside of Florida. Donald Trump and his motorcade driving through McDonald's to grab a bunch of hamburgers and take them to all the people who are helping out in Ohio. So Trump's there, huge crew of everybody, going through the McDonald's and the streets. Getting all of those delicious Big Macs. And here's what it looked like inside the McDonald's. Donald Trump making his way inside McDonald's in East Palestine, Ohio, greeting the workers, getting hamburgers for all the people helping out on scene.
Enjoy your meal, and we're going to get the meals for the fire department. Okay? Hello, everybody. What's your specialty today?
How are you today? Nice to meet you.
Hello, everybody. That's a nice, beautiful looking group of people. So I know this menu better than you do, okay? I probably know it better than anybody in here. We're going to take care of the fire department.
Okay.
We're going to take care of the police department. And what we do is all the people that are right
I'm the owner, Mr. President. How are you?
I don't have to give him.
That's right.
That's a good one to own, right?
Yes, it is. One of the best.
So we're going to take care of your fire force. We'll take care of that. Plus the people that are in here, they're going to get a nice free meal. All right?
This is the owner of the McDonald's right here. This guy owns it.
Good one, huh?
Yes, it's my first store.
Oh, really? How many do you
I
have?
have 8 stores.
Whoa. He's a wealthy guy, huh? Is he a good boss?
He's a wonderful boss.
So we'll take care of everything. We appreciate it. Knock it out fast for us, okay? We'll be eating it on the plane back. Thank you, everybody. Have a good time, okay?
I'm glad you came down.
Thanks for stopping here.
We're happy you came down here to visit us.
Great
We
honor.
appreciate it.
Mr. Trump, why are you visiting today?
Huh?
Why are you visiting today?
Well, we brought a lot of people with us, and more importantly, we brought the federal government with us because when they heard I was coming, they all came. They weren't going to come. They were going to leave you abandoned, and now they're not. The owner over here, he saw that.
I helped out all the responders and everything the first week. I was down here making Egg McMuffins myself Saturday morning.
You did a good job.
Nice.
He did a good job. So give us a nice array of stuff. Take care of the people, and I'll see you later, okay? Thank you all.
Can I get a picture with you?
What do you think about what's going on in East
Get a picture,
Palestine?
please.
All right, so that's Donald Trump making his way around East Palestine. You can see the crowd absolutely loves him, and he's there lending support, whereas the rest of our elected officials are, I guess, in Ukraine and elsewhere. So that, my friends, is it for us on the day. Of course, there is another entire live stream that we did, which is on this channel. We covered the George Allen Kelly preliminary hearing, and so I just dropped that link in the chat. So open that one up if you're wanting to watch a whole different segment. But that is it for us here on the show today. Let me drop that in the Rumble. Actually, Rumble. Yeah, Rumble's over. Hold on a second. We're going to jump into your questions and your comments here in one quick second. I'm just grabbing this link for our Rumble friends in case they want to watch the George Allen Kelly. Got it. All right. And so that, my friends, is it for us. Now, we are going to jump over to your super chats. Thank you very, very much for your extreme generosity here today. Let's take a look at what is going on with YouTube. I think it logged me out, of course, because that's what it likes to do when we're live. And we're swapping some screens around here, my friends. Thank you for your patience. Getting over to those super chats. And we had Fred Pedamontes in the house. Let's see who we have here today. Our first one came in from Playin' Hooky. Yeah, and so Playin' Hooky at the start of the show, very generous. Thank you, Playin' Hooky. Modding the fort down, sending in super chats. Very appreciative, my friend. Says, Rob, explain it to the chat. Explain to everybody. How do we get over to the Watching the Watchers community? So we're working on a website. I think it's going to be basically ready to go on Monday. We're going to finish the final kinks, working the kinks out, and then we'll be able to share that. I think we'll get it done on Monday. I really want to get it launched. Thank you, Playin' Hooky. Playin' Hooky is the man. All right. And so we also have Michael Allen Hughes says, single, very committal. What a real pickle, having an unofficial woman with a giggle spreading her obnoxious artificial lies that leads to an acquittal. Trump gets the last giggles. Okay. So is this like a poem? Yeah, I think it is. Single, very committal. What a real pickle. Having an unofficial woman with a giggle spreading her obnoxious artificial lies leads to an acquittal. Trump gets the last giggles. I think it's kind of like, alliteration there, Michael Allen Hughes. Well done. I like it. It's very poetic. Yeah, I mean, Trump literally might get the last laugh. No doubt about that. If he is able to just get this whole thing dumped because of a very, very loud foreperson. Curious. Devin Knox is here with a super chat. Thank you, Devin. Says they should release the transcript from that phone call since they've been complaining about it for 2 years. Yeah, if they released it, we'd all see it, and then there wouldn't be that much. You know, they sort of live in the gray area, right? They were very happy when they had control of the J6 tapes, because there was a lot of gray area and they could fill in the gaps with a bunch of insurrectionist language. However, when Tucker Carlson's going to get all that footage, they're not happy about that because he's going to be able to expose a lot of the actual truth. All we're asking for is just release the videos. Don't touch them. Just let us see them. So if it really is so criminal and nefarious, just put it out on display and let's see it already. Fred Pedamonte says, Rob, Johnny wants me to ask you a question. How in God's name was Emily Kohrs picked as a foreperson? You know, it was a good question. You know, I was trying to think back through all of my, legal education and, come up with some, I guess, some question. But I mean, answer. I don't know, number one. I mean, first, the obvious answer is she's very assertive, right? She's very animated. She's got a strong personality. And she just took over the jury room because she just said, I know about this and I volunteer. And she's the first one. And she goes, I'll do it. And everybody's looking at her and they're going, is she okay? Is there something wrong with that person? And somebody says, I think that's just who she is. I think that's okay. Should we ask her? Like, is there anything? No, just let it go. And like, nobody says anything. So the jury just gets to, deal with it. That's kind of the standard answer. I think the real answer, though, Johnny, is that she's a witch, bro. Did you see her Pinterest? She's abracadabraing all of these jurors. She's mind melding them. She's doing the Vulcan stuff, whatever they're doing. Herbs, boiling cauldrons, broomsticks, Ouija boards, mantras. What else do witches do? I don't know. She might have the judge, in a trance. Scary business, man. Well, maybe Johnny knows what to do about that. Maybe he can gather some nanobots from Epstein's Island and then mix them with uranium and come up with a solution. Anyways, we'll figure it out. I'm sure he'll have an answer for us next time. Thank you there, Fred Pedamonte, and your wild dog over there, Johnny. Very, very appreciative of all of the super chats that came in from our friends. Thank you very much for those. I appreciate you supporting our work that we're doing here now more than ever. And so we're also shouting out our Rumble friends before we wrap it up for the day. As I said, shorter show because we had a full stream this morning. Rob covered, yeah, it was a short, we'll do a short show today because we had the full hearing this morning. It was about an hour this morning. So if you guys missed that, go check that out for sure. All right, my friends. So over on Rumble, we got Slow Hands over there. We got Surf Wyoming, Make 450s over there. Shout out to Army Brat, Dog Digger. We got Slow Hand, Jan X in the house. I see Vienticus Prime is modding the fort up for us. Patrick Henry's Ghost is over there. Shout out to Patrick Henry's Ghost. Welcome. Love your work. Peter Tags in the house. Donut Mind Me and others. Of course, we also have our Twitter friends. We like to shout out all the free speech platforms. And I apologize to my Rumble friends yesterday. The tubes. I crossed the tubes inappropriately. But I'm glad that we figured that out here today. All right, so we're pulling up Twitter to see what is happening over there. We have a whopping 3 viewers, which is out of control. So brace yourselves. It's about to get wild over here. Let's see who is in the house. James Pepper says, do you own a chia pet? Is what James Pepper says. Do you have your own chia pet? I do not have. No, I don't. Although, sounds like it might be fun, chia pet. I feel like it when I eat my greens at fieldofgreens.com. Code Robert, save 15% off. We also have Vienticus Prime says, wait. Hold on. He's bringing the McDonald's? Is he trying to give them a second dose of poison? Says Vienticus. Hey, man, Big Macs are oh gosh, from Rebecca John. Big Macs, they're only poisonous, right? I think in heavy quantities. You're allowed to have one, every so often, aren't you? Right? Technically, I think that's a law. Danny says, Grand Juror Emily Kohrs just gave whoever indicted a get out of jail card. Very, very funny. Savvy Sue says, lurking while working in the house. Glad to see you here, Savvy Sue, giving us the lurk face. Good to see you, Savvy. Phil Reno's in the chat. Says, have you ever explained why you left R&R? Did I miss something? Wife said it had something to do with traveling or something, but she wasn't sure. That came in from Phil Reno. Yeah, we did talk about it a little bit on the Friday show on whenever I announced it. I think it was on February 10th. The February 10th show is probably the show where I talked about it the most. So if you missed that, that's where I talked about it. But, long story short, it was time. It's a difficult position to be in when you are trying to be 100% to two different entities. And I had a long conversation with my business partner about this. What's the future of the firm? What's the future of what we're doing here, watching the watchers and the community that we're building here? And we just had a conversation about it and decided that this was the right decision and amicably parted ways. And it's kind of a long process. It's sort of called a business divorce, right? You got to unmingle, decouple everything. And so we're still friends, and I'm still a big supporter of the firm. I still believe in their mission. I believe in all the people there, and they're going to do great work. Some maybe even better work now, right? Now that there's sort of one person in charge, one partner, and he can handle everything basically. So it's a bittersweet thing, right? I am sort of, still, it's still a little tender. I'm still sort of recovering, it's a tender thing. This was my baby, built that thing from the ground up. Started our law group on a folding table in my spare bedroom at my house, years ago. We had I had 4 table chair with like a fax machine, a scanner that was a fax machine because courts still fax and stuff. It was crazy. And we built this whole thing into a 7-figure business. And I'm sure I'll talk more about it, but it's still a little tender, still a little raw. But I felt a calling. I felt sort of a pull to make a decision and to go 100% in and make a commitment. And so that's what we're doing. And we're going full steam ahead, baby. And I really appreciate your support here as we continue to go through it. I'm learning a lot, and I'm going to learn a lot more. We're going to have a lot of fun, and I'm really going to be able to double down and have a bunch of additional space to go deeper with our work, and I'm looking forward to it. So thanks for asking about that, Phil. And I know several of you have asked about it as well, and so thanks for checking in on me. I'm doing okay. I am doing okay. My mom called me. She said, "Are you doing okay?" I said, "Yeah, Mom, I'm doing good." She said to me, "Are you isolating?" I said, "No, Mom, I'm not isolating. I'm not. I was out late last night till about 10:30. I didn't get home and sort of in bed till 11. I was out with business owners in Arizona. We're all talking about communities. I had a great conversation with another guy who has another community that he runs. It's a sort of a fitness-based community for single fathers kind of a thing. And we were talking about, all the things that he does to bring value to his community and the things that we do. And we had a great conversation. So I think it's going to provide an opportunity for us to, to go deeper and have, more fun and do more stories together. Like today we did the George Allen Kelly trial, or the preliminary hearing today, which I wouldn't have been able to do if I had a bunch of law firm duties to attend to in the mornings, which is how my day was. And so it's an evolution, it's kind of a tough evolution, but I think it's the right move, and we're going to keep pushing forward. And I really do appreciate your support. As I've hopefully articulated, none of this would have been possible without you, without your viewership, without your membership, without these super chats, without your support on the websites, without your tolerating all of the beta testing and the ebbs and flows of sort of building this infrastructure out. Wouldn't have been possible. And I'm very grateful for it. I'm extremely excited about it. And I can't wait to, continue to develop, but it's kind of a long road. I've been spending a lot of time over these past couple weeks just changing email addresses and sitting in buildings, filing record requests or forms to change names and all this stuff. It's just kind of been a big thing. So anyway, it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm very excited, very grateful to all of you. And we're looking forward to continuing our work together. But my friends, I think that is it for us on the day. Those were the great questions over from our friends on Twitter, our friends on Rumble, our friends on Locals sent over some very nice Locals tips. Let's say hello to these Locals tips while we're here. This one looks like a funny one. Okay, so Bittersweet is in the house. It says, "Oh no." Okay, so Bittersweet here. We have a Field of Greens story here. This could be problems. Let's see what happened here. Bittersweet says, "Rob, I had a catastrophe with Field of Greens." Oh no. What happened? I tried Diet Sprite with it. Oh man. It exploded all over the counter and the floor. LOL, what a mess. I drank what was left in the glass and it tasted pretty good. It is good. I'm not joking with you. It does taste good. And can I explain something to you, Bittersweet? I had the same thing happen. Okay, so I actually like to drink it with sparkling water because of the bubbles, and it kind of froths it up. It kind of turns it into almost kind of has like a smoothie feeling a little bit, because the carbonation sort of, froths it up, and it kind of makes it a little thicker. So, but my first experience with that, I did the same thing. I put it in the shaker, shook it up, and then popped the lid off, and then it popped off. I'm idiot. Like, I knew it was going to do that too, and I just still did it. So, but it does still taste good. I mean, it is good. It does taste good going down. You can use it with sparkling water and get a flavored sparkling water with like a, grapefruit or whatever. And you have a green grapefruit smoothie, and it's vitamins. It's good. Anyway, so thank you for sharing that, Bittersweet. You got to be careful next time you're making little bombs in your kitchen. James York is here. James York, that looks like a new name. Welcome. Says Trump can now say he's a victim of a witch hunt. Oh my gosh. I'm so mad I didn't think of that. James. 1 million points to James York. Outstanding. Trump can now say he's the victim of a witch hunt. Literally. That's so good. MNL Hayes is sending a tip just because. Thank you, MNL Hayes. Tanya sent another one. Very nice one. Thank you, Tanya. Says, "Happy Tuesday." Thank you, Tanya. What a nice community we have over there. Yeah, that's funny. That's a good one from James York. Man, that great comment. And here, this one is from Geegum Geegum. "Hope to see you all in Watching the Watchers Locals." Oh, that's great. Yeah. What movie is that from? I wonder what that is from. I'm Watching You. It reminds me of Meet the Parents. Is that the one with Robert De Niro? Oh, yeah. Here. Okay. So the Google chat. Can someone? Yes. I'll take care of that for you right now, Andy. All right. So we're also on our watchingthewatchers.locals.com community, building out our permachat. And so I'm going to add Andy P to our permachat here in a short second. But all right, my friends, that is it for us on the day. I'm very grateful for all of your support. Thank you so much for helping out with the work that we do. We are done for the day. So we are going over to watchingthewatchers.locals.com for our after party, where we're going to hang out for a little bit longer. The address to join us is at watchingthewatchers.locals.com, the address that I have been saying repeatedly here today. But we also have our sponsors over from fieldofgreens.com. So make sure you go over there, get your Field of Greens at fieldofgreens.com. Save 15% with code Robert so that you feel ultra energized and ready to go and healthy. Also, of course, my former law firm, R&R Law Group. As I said, they're doing great work over there. Still the best team, still amazing values, doing great work, helping good people. I just don't happen to be there anymore, but they're still doing great work. 480-787-0394, online at rrlawaz.com. Want to thank our mods who mod down the fort for us. Big ultra shout outs to Vientikiss Prime, our friend K Bean in the chat. We got Just Cause, playing Hooky, who is modding down the fort for us, along with Ronnie Cole, Zulu, our friend Geomancy Games, who's on YouTube, and our friend Zach Nichols, who is modding down our permachat for us as well. Shout out to Sleepy Dog Lee on Twitter, Paul Me Know, and our friend Geegum Geegum, who just delivered that very fun meme. Where'd it go? That we just saw here. Geegum Geegum in the house. That's our meme smith extraordinaire. I don't know how she does that. Anyways, very cool. All right, and so that, my friends, is it for us on the day. We are going over to watchingthewatchers.locals.com. I hope you join us and see. I'd like to see you there. But if not, we will be back here tomorrow to do it all again. And I'll look forward to seeing you there so that together with your help, we can shine that big, beautiful spotlight of accountability and transparency down upon our system with the hope of finding justice. Have a tremendous evening, my friends. Sleep very well. I'll see you right back here tomorrow. Bye-bye.